guys, welcome back to Dimitra's Dishes. So today's recipe has been requested for quite some time by Tanya Vavitas, my good friend in New York. I'm going to be bringing you today my gingerbread bundt cake recipe. Now it's delicious, it just has all the flavors of the holiday season, super easy to make because you don't need any fancy equipment. Let's go over the ingredients so that way we can start. So for the dry ingredients, I have some all-purpose flour, a little bit of salt, some ground dried ginger, some ground cinnamon, a little bit of dried ground cloves, some baking soda and baking powder. Of course, we're going to need some pure vanilla extract, some really good dark pure unsulphured molasses, some brown sugar, some eggs, a little bit of butter, and an orange. So we're going to begin by melting our butter. So I have a stick of unsalted butter, and I'm just going to take out about a tablespoon so that way I could use it for buttering my bundt pan. And then the rest I'm going to put in this small saucepan over here with the molasses. And we're just going to warm it through until the butter melts. And it'll melt faster if you cut it into little chunks. You want to get all those molasses. They're going to add such nice rich flavor to this cake and make it really nice and moist and slightly sweet too. So now while that's cooking, we're going to combine the rest of our wet ingredients in this bowl. I have 2 whole eggs. I'm going to add my brown sugar, but before I do that, because I need the zest and the juice of the orange, you know, if you've been following me for a while, you zest first and then you juice after. So we're going to use the zest of this whole orange. I feel like orange really brightens up all of the flavors and wakes them up and brings them all together. So when you're zesting, you want to get the shiny orange part, and when you get down to the white part, stop because that's bitter. So we're just going to whisk all of the dry ingredients together just until they're combined, and then I'm going to set it aside. That's ready. Now I'm going to cut this orange in half. To juice it. That's it. I'm just going to take out these little seeds that are in here. You don't want those in the cake. And then I'm just going to top this off until it's 3/4 of a cup full with water. And just like that, our butter and molasses have warmed through and the butter has melted. Now I'm just going to add my liquid to the egg and brown sugar. Now you can do all orange juice too if you like. You can just juice a few more oranges until you have the right amount of liquid that you need. I just feel like the amount of orange juice that I got out of this orange, it was a little bit more than 1/4 cup. It's just the right amount so that way it doesn't make it too orangey, but trust me, too orangey is never a bad thing. Now we're going to add vanilla extract to this, about a teaspoon or so. Always use the good stuff. Pure vanilla extract is the best. Mix, mix, mix. Now, you can wait for this mixture to cool down, but I never did that. So I'm just going to temper this by adding this really slowly. Let me do it this way. Just add a little bit of the very hot liquid to the egg mixture to raise the temperature. Just slowly, keep mixing. That way everything is done at the same time in one bowl. And you should never waste. This is all good stuff, you guys. Get a spatula in there and get this saucepan nice and clean. Set that aside. Mix this all in. And now we're just going to whisk in our dry ingredients. It's just that simple. Mix it until all the lumps disappear. And that's it. It just looks like melted caramel or toffee. It smells incredible. I'm just going to set this aside. I'm just going to get all of this out of the way, melt my little tablespoon of butter, and just get my pans ready. So this batter is ready, and really you can use it to fill anything you want. You can use a loaf pan, 1, not 2. Double the recipe to make 2, and this is so delicious that if I were you, it just hardly takes any effort. If you have all the ingredients to make 2, go ahead and make them because they're perfect for gift giving. You can also fill little cupcake liners with this. Never fill more than 3/4 of the way full, whatever you're filling. So you can use any kind of pan you have. So I'm going to be using these 2 bundt pans because they're just so pretty. the cakes are going to come out really decorative and just beautiful, and they can be used as centerpieces too. Now, who doesn't love that? But the thing about using any kind of Bundt pan is because you cannot line it with parchment paper, you want it to release really easily, and the only way to do that is to grease it really well. After I grease it, I always like to dust it with some all-purpose flour just for some extra insurance. So I have some melted butter here, and I'm just going to go into all these little nooks and crannies and fillings, whatever you want to call them, all of these decorative little things inside of here. I'm just going to butter this really, really well with this melted butter. So you can also use cooking spray, but I would suggest to heavily spray it with cooking spray and then just go in there with a brush to make sure every single part of the Bundt pan is coated, because trust me when I tell you, you do not want to try to go and unmold this and have them break in half. You don't want to know how that, I mean, I'll tell you actually, while I was testing this recipe, that's exactly what happened because I didn't butter them well. So don't skip this step. It just takes a few seconds and then just ensures for really, really beautiful little cakes. I'm just going to dust this very generously. I'm going to tap all this flour out. That's done. And now I'm just going to distribute this equally between the two sides of the Bundt pan. So you want to make sure whatever baking pan you're baking this in, just don't go more than 3/4 of the way up. So you must have noticed that I have a baking tray underneath my Bundt pans, and that's because that's going to make it so much easier and safer to transfer in and out of the oven. The oven is preheated to 350 degrees Fahrenheit. I'm going to bake these in the center rack for between 35 to 40 minutes. So my Bundt cakes took about 38 minutes in the oven to bake. At the 35-minute mark, you want to go in there and check them and insert a toothpick inside the center of the cake. If it comes out clean, that's how you know it's ready. Then you want to take the cakes out and let them sit at room temperature for at least 15 or 20 minutes, so that way the cakes can settle and they can begin to cool down. Then go in there with a knife and loosen them up a little bit, so that way it's easy to take them out of their pan. Flip them upside down onto a baking pan, tap them a little bit so that way they can release easily, and then you're going to have these beautiful cakes to serve just like this. Now you can serve these in many different ways. You can just dust them with some powdered sugar like I did. Just a nice liberal coating on top. I feel like the contrast in color is really good, and they're not too sweet, so the sweetness from the powdered sugar is just going to be perfect. Now you can also make a cream cheese icing. I have so many cream cheese icings on my website as well as on this channel. I'll link them down below and in the card section. You can put a little bit of orange in it too. You can cut up some crystallized ginger and decorate the top over the cream cheese icing. You could do a glaze by mixing some orange juice and confectioner sugar and just drizzling it over the top. But my favorite way to serve this is just like this with some powdered sugar, a nice scoop of ice cream, or even you can whip up some whipped cream and serve it alongside of this. I feel like the whipped cream is so delicate, it goes perfectly with this, but make it and serve it however you like. I'm going to cut into this because it just smells just fantastic. Let me get a knife and a fork. I don't even need a plate today. We're going to go into this. It's really dense and moist. Let's get this piece out. Look at how beautiful that looks. It has the color of toffee or caramel. Who are we kidding? We're not fancy here. I don't need a fork. You know what? You could even put some cranberries in here. Some dried cranberries, some raisins. I mean, the sky's the limit. You could do so much with this. The holiday flavors and the warm spices that are in this just taste absolutely magnificent. 1,000,001 ways to serve this and make it, but you should definitely go to the website www.dimitrasdishes.com, get this recipe and so many more, make it, give it to people as a holiday gift, bring it as a housewarming party, or serve it at your next get-together. Either way, everyone is going to love it. Thank you guys so much for spending time with me today. I'll see you all next time. Bye, everyone.